Facebook, what's going on? And I should say, hey, YouTube, because this video will end up living on YouTube. I'm not sure if y'all have seen my live videos in the past, but it's been a minute. I meant to do this earlier this week, and then life happened, AKA the schedule exploded. But basically, if you don't know what I'm doing on here live, I get lots of questions from all of you, from friends, from neighbors, from people that I come into contact with, from strangers, related to health and fitness. And the best way for me to help everyone is to do some live videos here on Facebook and then repost them to YouTube so that I can help as many people as possible, given I am one little person. So I actually got a really cool question from a friend, Clint. And Clint, it's a pretty in-depth question, but it all boils down to this. Can you outwork a bad diet? Let me read to you what he wrote. He said, for people, and here's my computer with all of your questions that I typed out. So as people ask me questions, I type away. By the way, for people that are live, feel free to ask questions. I may not have time to answer in this live video because I have my Charge Up Challenge group that I coach on a private page at 6:15 on Thursday night. So by 6:14, I have to bounce out of here. I have a hard cutoff time. So it says, for people who have a hard time with exercise and cooking, you may not be able to go to the gym but can cook healthy, or you really like cheeseburgers and pasta but have time for the gym. So basically, what are the pros and cons of following a healthy diet with little to no gym time, and the opposite, a less healthy diet but spends time in the gym? So let me start by saying this. Nutrition and sleep, we'll say lifestyle, because that would include stress, are about 80% of the battle. So keep that in mind, all right? Yes, you can do some positive stuff in the gym. You can burn some calories, but did you realize that, let's say you ate a big cookie and it put you 350 calories over your daily calorie maintenance level. Basically, you ate 350 extra calories that day. Well, it's gonna take you, if you're gonna run on the treadmill, if you're gonna run that cookie off, yeah, good luck. You're gonna be running for a while. So you're gonna be running for like an hour, depending on how fast you run. So one big cookie could mean you have to run an extra hour to burn that off. Now, I do want to get the point across that there's a little bit more to calories in, calories out. Technically, you know, calories in, calories out has a lot of truth to it, but the reason why I say there's more to it than that, because people don't think of things like the thermic effect of food, for example. So your body has to work harder to break down protein than it does for sugar. So that all gets equated into the calories, calories out equation, but people don't really think about it in terms of that. Also, you know, you could do a HIIT exercise session, and even though you might only burn, let's say 200 calories in that 20-minute HIIT session, it creates an afterburn effect, which is gonna cause you to burn more calories even after that session stops. So it's totally more than what people think of as it relates to calories in, calories out, but it all kind of gets factored in to the energy balance equation is what it's called. So I'm gonna say the short answer to that question, Clint, is no, you cannot outwork a bad diet. Because, you know, a bad diet by an American standard is like a really, really, really bad diet, because I would say a good American diet is actually a pretty terrible diet. So a bad American diet is like off the chain bad diet. Steve, I see you're asking, when you average it over 7 days, it messes up the whole week. Are you saying if you average like a little bit extra food over the 7 days, then at the end of the week, yeah, you're pretty off? I would agree with that. So every little bit adds up here. That's the short answer to that question, Clint. It's gonna take a lot of work to outdo a bad diet. Now, okay, that sounded like doom and gloom for that answer. Everything counts, right? So sometimes people have this all or nothing mentality, and I can be guilty of that, but I would encourage you not to. So let's say you had the cookie, you had the pizza. That doesn't mean all hope is lost. It just means you pick it right back up. So I was on a radio show, shout out to Rich, if you're watching, Rich, and I was explaining that it's really the sum of millions of decisions that you make every week. And if let's just hypothetically say all 1 million of your decisions could power you towards health, wow, you would be like in a totally different world for the better, obviously. Now, realistically, it's not gonna happen. Not all 1 million of your weekly decisions are gonna power you towards health, but the more you can make in that right direction, the better you're gonna think, the better you're gonna feel, yada, yada, yada. So let me go to my next question. And these next two questions kind of go hand in hand, so I'm gonna group them together. My good friend Amy from college, who's getting married in December, just bought my plane tickets, girl. I will be there. I'm super excited. I got a good deal on it because I planned ahead. So I'm really excited to be there. But Amy, probably in preparation for her wedding, said, I quote, "How do I get rid of my second butt under my good butt?" So I'm like, I assume you're asking how do I tone my hamstrings. She's always had that sarcastic humor. I love it. So basically, yeah, we're gonna talk about some hamstring exercises. So I'm gonna get up and do some demonstrations. Really, let me start before I get into the demonstrations. To lose body fat is very hard to spot reduce fat. There has been some promise showing that there may be a way to spot reduce fat. It is not a definitive, conclusive thing, but I will say from putting this into practice with myself and my clients, seems to work. Who knows if it's the placebo effect? Here's how you do it. You would work the hamstrings, you would do some leg exercises that target back here, and then at the end of that workout, you would do about 15 to 20 minutes tops, I would say, of a light intensity cardio. And by doing it in that order, super important, in that order, doing some intense weightlifting first, followed by some light intensity cardio, what the research is indicating is that the muscles that you just worked will release fat into the bloodstream, and then they can either get reabsorbed or they can get eaten up. So the way to eat it up as fuel for the body is to do some light intensity cardio at the end of the workout. I see a question coming in. What is the best way to turn fat into muscle? So technically speaking, it's not like this fat gets converted into muscle. It's like you lose fat and you also add muscle. I'm gonna say, my friend, keep listening to the rest of this video because the answer to your question is gonna be wrapped up in all of this stuff. So including this little method where you work out first and then you hit the cardio. So let me show y'all some hamstring exercises, or as Amy likes to call it, my second butt exercises. So basically this little area right down here. My favorite, I swear guys, this one gets me sore every time I do it and I really feel the burn. So this is a stiff-legged deadlift, different than an actual deadlift. So an actual deadlift, you're bending your knees. Hopefully y'all can see me. Let me do a little maneuvering here. So an actual deadlift, you bend your knees and you come down and fold over on your thighs. But a stiff-legged deadlift, you don't bend your knees. Okay, so there's a slight bend in your knees, which is important. Slight bend, you don't want to lock the knees out. After that slight bend, no more bend. As you come down, think about pushing your butt back and keeping your back arched or flat to slightly arched. Super important. No hunching. You're gonna get injured if you hunch over. As a matter of fact, with my clients, I usually don't put this as homework for them if I'm not with them, because if the form suffers on this one, it can really hurt your back. So please pay attention to the form, but push your butt back, come all the way down as far as you can, but don't go so far that you start to hunch over. As far as you can, keeping the back arched and the butt sticking out, and then come back up. I'm telling you, man, that tears up your hamstrings pretty good, and into the glute. So there's that. Any kind of a squat is gonna be really good for that. Just make sure shoulders back, chest up, coming down low. That's the key. If you want to get back here into that hamstring glute tie-in, you got to go low, got to drop down low. Now, I'm not saying drop your butt all the way to the ground, okay? So that can cause some knee problems. But a 90-degree angle at the knees, that's perfect. You can even bounce down here and do a little dance down here if you want, all that. But that's going to be really good. So I would say once to twice a week, do a leg workout, Amy, or anyone else that's interested in toning the hamstrings. And then, well, after the leg workout is when you'll want to do the cardio for 15 to 20 minutes. So let's see here. I see people are commenting, saying hello. Randy says hello. Hey, Randy. Gerard says hello to you. And cool, awesome. So moving on. Okay, so Angela I helped out at a boot camp class last week. Actually, it was 2 weeks ago now. What? And she was asking about exercises to strengthen the hamstring. So there you go, Angela. I would say those squats and the stiff-legged deadlifts are really good exercises to strengthen the hamstring. So next question comes from Ellie. She was asking, where the heck do I start on my health and fitness journey? So like I mentioned, I just did, that got released today, I believe, a radio show podcast with my good friend Rich, and we called it Health and Wealth because he's on the financial end of things but has a passion for health, and I'm on the health end of things, and who doesn't have a passion for a little of that, right? So anyway, we did a podcast radio show, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to include the link to that in the comment section below. I'll try to do that as soon as I end here, assuming I have enough time before my 6:15 thing, because that is going to be some great information for how you get started. We talked about a lot about nutrition in there, and also some fitness tips and some mental stuff. So I'm going to link that there for Ellie and for everyone else that is wanting to know where to get started and if carbs bad, right? Let me just address that now because I get really fired up about this. People still think all carbs are bad. Not all carbs are created equal. When you're talking about carbohydrates, there are different types. You have sugars, you have fibers. Fiber, as you can probably guess, is going to be a more beneficial type of carbohydrate. Now, too much of a good thing becomes a bad thing. I have to tell myself that all the time as it relates to exercise. But as it relates to fiber, too much of a good thing becomes a bad thing. You don't want your system to get clogged. So with fiber, you want to get somewhere between 25 to 45 grams a day. That's going to be your sweet spot. I go on the higher end. Sometimes I get a little over 45 grams, but like not much over. And my system is used to it, and I drink lots of water. You got to drink lots of water. So fibrous carbs are going to be your vegetables, obviously, things like berries. Even sweet potatoes have some fiber. Quinoa has some fiber as well. So you really, really, really want to increase your fiber, which leads me into my next question. But more on the carb stuff is going to be in that podcast. My go-to carbs: quinoa, sweet potatoes, fruits and vegetables, squashes. Did I say quinoa? Can I say it again? Because I can't say it enough. I didn't used to do quinoa. Recently, I've been doing it a lot. So I like those carbs. Now, next question is a good segue into this is Dion was asking, how do I lose belly fat? Okay, so for anyone that is really serious about losing belly fat and feels like they're pulling their hair out and they don't know what to do, why won't their belly fat go away? This also ties into Amy's question about, losing, how do I lose the second butt under my real butt? So other than what I mentioned previously about spot reducing, possibly being able to spot reduce fat, typically it's said that you don't get to choose where your body distributes fat. I've been actually reading a book that talks about different factors that contribute to how some people store more fat in other places, and for one person it's different than the next. A lot of it's due to genetics, but it's pretty interesting. I need to, go reread it before I can really eloquently speak on that topic. But for the most part, yeah, your body is going to store fat where you typically store fat. And the best way to lose fat is you just have to think about burning fat from everywhere, and eventually the belly fat's going to come off. Now, with that being said, I would track your food. This is the biggest piece of advice that I could give to people. Track your food, because it is a science. If you think of the bodybuilding world, which is where I hail from, the bodybuilders, and I'm not saying you have to be a bodybuilder, but it's like, how do you get your body to look like that? It's crazy. You do it by, to the T, tracking your macros. You track how many grams of carbs, proteins, and fats you're eating every day. And, I see Anne's popping on. Hey, Anne. And Lashad, how do I lose my belly fat? Great. I'm glad you tuned in right now because we're talking about that. So for anyone really wanting to lose belly fat, track your macros, okay? So what does that mean? Go and download the MyFitnessPal app if you don't have it. It's free. Everything you eat, track it. And at the end of the day, you should be eating a certain amount of grams of carbs, protein, and fat that's right for you. I really go into detail in this in my course. I mean, this is nothing that I can explain to you in the 4 minutes that we have left here, but I can give you a really good starting point. So for protein, I typically recommend about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Now, if you have extra weight to lose, then that's gonna be a little bit on the higher end. So like, let's say you're like 30 pounds overweight. Wow, my air conditioner is loud. I feel like I was screaming because that AC was so loud. It just turned off, and okay, I can talk a little quieter now. So 1 gram per pound of body weight would be a little bit of an overestimation if you have like 30 pounds to lose. In that case, you might go like 0.8 to 0.9 grams per pound of body weight. But if you're leaner, if you work out, especially if you do strength training, you might go over that. I actually do about 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight. I weigh about, I don't know, 122-ish, and I eat about 170 grams of protein a day. Most men don't eat that much protein a day, but they should be. They should be. Most of my clients, like, they'll show me their food intake. I'm like, dude, I eat more than you. Come on, step your game up. Eat more food. Because then, guess what? The people that are under eating Monday through Friday, well, Saturday and Sunday, they have these like blowout meals and they make up for all of their calories and then some, but they put their body in a prime position to hold on to fat by doing it that way. So basically what I'm trying to say is, when you're trying to be good, don't severely restrict your calories. It doesn't work. It just does not work. Yes, you need to create some kind of a caloric restriction, but you can create a caloric restriction for most people that are working out with like 1,900 calories a day. For females, maybe 1,700. But I'm in a pretty decent caloric restriction when I eat 1,800 calories a day. So I don't ever go below, very rarely will I go below 1,800 calories a day. So, Lashad, I see you're saying you're 250, you would like to go to 220. Okay, cool. So track your food. About, I would say, Lashad, maybe close to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight is maybe 0.9 grams of protein per pound of body weight is what I would do. So punch that in your calculator. It's gonna be close to like 100, I would say actually, if you could get close to 190 to 200 grams of protein a day, that would be great. Also, make sure you're doing some strength training with that additional protein to put it to good use. So there's that. And then the remainder of your calories you're gonna get from carbs and fat as a general rule of thumb. Again, I would need more time to break it down for you, but you're gonna want anywhere between 140, for females, maybe as low as 120, maybe that low, depending on your size, age, height, all that. 120 to as many as 300 grams of carbs for a really active, in shape guy. But for the men that are asking, Lashad and Dion, I would say maybe between 160 to 190 grams of carbs per day would be a good rule of thumb, or a good starting point. And then the remainder of your calories you would get from fat. So that might be anywhere between 65 to 75 grams of fat per day. So you want to hit those macros. That's how a bodybuilder gets their body to look a certain way. I'm not saying that y'all are trying to be bodybuilders or that y'all should want to be bodybuilders, but I'm trying to get the point across that it's a science. To shape the body to be a certain way, you have to eat the right amount of macros, or at least get close to it. A bodybuilder will do it to the T, like every day, very regimented, weighing everything that goes into their mouth, and it gets very obsessive. So it's not a healthy way to live, but you don't have to weigh everything you eat, but you can estimate, right? So what I recommend doing is get a food scale, mine's back there, get a food scale and see what 4 ounces of chicken cooked looks like. See what 8 ounces of sweet potato looks like. And then you can start to get away with estimating, see what, measure out a cup of quinoa and get used to what that looks like, so then you can, start tracking your food without having to do all the measuring and the weighing and yada yada. So that would be my advice. And then the last question is from Charlotta. So she was asking about my breakfast, my power juice that I make, and what kind of collagen do I use. I use Vital Proteins. The one that you're using, if it only has 9 grams of protein, then I would double or maybe even triple up. Because for breakfast, I would want a female to be getting at least 20 grams. I'm gonna say at least 25, even 30 grams of protein with your breakfast. I get over 30 grams with my breakfast. And then I'm also eating protein all throughout the day. So this is the one I use. It's unflavored. There is 20 grams of protein per serving. And there's 2 scoops as a serving. So in my power juice, I put 3 scoops of this sucker in there. Yes, I load up on my protein. And then as far as how much of everything to put, I usually put in like a small handful of blueberries, about 5 raspberries, 5 blackberries, about maybe a third of a frozen banana. All the berries I put in frozen, half of a cucumber, parsley, a handful of parsley. What else did I put in? So I don't weigh them, but I just do, about like 5 of the different berries and yada yada. And I do about a quarter of an apple. About a quarter of an apple, maybe a third. Depends on how I'm feeling that day. Stevia, sea salt, it's good stuff. I have it almost every morning. On that note, guys, I have to bounce out and do my Charge Up Challenge live coaching for my group. They are doing amazing, so I want to give y'all a shout out. If you're listening to my voice here, hop on over on our private page. For anyone that's interested, I am doing a big launch right now because it's the fall time, and we're actually getting a whole new group on in addition to the people that are finishing up. The way the course is set up, you can join whenever, but people tend to join in waves and in different seasons of life. So in fall, I'm getting a big group joining. I'm sure I'll get another big group that joins to get ready for the holidays. And then of course, January 1st, I'm not gonna know how to handle the big wave of people, but it'll be a good problem to have. So for anyone that's interested in that, message me. I'll put a link below as well, so y'all can get a 2-week trial. So, all right, I gotta bounce, but I will see y'all soon.